Hey everyone, Corinne Zupko here. And as you come into our room, please say hi in the chat. I am so excited to be here with Fiona Williams. And before I introduce Fiona, I just want to say a few things. Number one, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here and taking part in this training. We are so blessed to have Fiona with us. And I'm so excited for this session because we haven't done anything like this together, and teaching kids to use their minds for miracles is something that's so incredibly important. Just to give you a little bit of really quick history, the reason that we're here, the inspiration behind this came because, as you all I'm sure know, I have a book coming out in February 2018, and that's a long ways away still, being June. And I wanted to do something still every month to give. And what came to me was give away books, give away the books that you love. And without these authors having any idea that I was going to be doing this, throughout time, these different authors gave me their different children's books. I think the first book that I got was from Barbara Franco Adams, Through Faith and Grace. This is part of our grand prize that we'll be giving away later. Fiona gave me this beautiful My Mind book. I know you're probably seeing it in reverse, but also part of the grand prize and the topic of what we'll be talking about. And the other book by John Bevan, I love this book. It's called The Parable of the Stars. It comes with a CD in which John and his wife recorded the story of the parable to the stars to gorgeous music. John is an incredibly talented musician. And so it's narrated and they're singing, and it's just so beautiful. And it's about the stars wanting to be special, so sort of splitting off and then eventually realizing that they are all absolutely radiant and beautiful and going back into that. So these are the book giveaways that will be coming at the end of this webinar, but that's a little bit ways off. I am so happy to introduce to you Fiona Williams. So Fiona, I'm going to read your bio from the back of the book. And again, I can see that folks are joining the room. Please feel free to post in the chat, say hello, let us know where you're at in the world. Fiona Maria Williams is a clinical hypnotherapist, an Erickson certified professional life coach, and a facilitator of A Course in Miracles. Her expertise in mental health informs her passion for teaching the fundamentals of how our minds work best. While watching her two nephews and niece grow, Fiona felt inspired to write a book introducing children to the laws of the mind as they are presented in the Course. And you can visit her website at healthyhappykidsinitiative.ca. So welcome, Fiona. Yay!
Thank you. Yay, my baby. Thank you for having me. Oh, isn't she beautiful?
She is so beautiful. Hi, Linda from Washington, and Eric from Calgary, and John. Hi, John. I think one of our authors is here. I hope you heard. I gave a shout out to Parable of the Stars. So welcome, everyone. As we move through our content today, Fiona will be guiding us through the content inspired from her book. And feel free to ask questions. So if questions come up for you, pop them into the chat. I'm going to keep my eyes on the chat, and periodically, if there's some questions, I'll pipe in and we'll take it from there. So Fiona, I'm wondering if you can just begin. I mean, it said it a little bit in your bio, but what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I have a major passion for mental health, and I believe that mental health begins not with analyzing the problem, which would be the effect. As A Course in Miracles says, that's the effect. I believe it begins with the fundamentals of how our minds work. And I was actually halfway through writing the adult version when I thought about my nephew, who at the time when I wrote the book was 9, and he has, anxiety, and I went through anxiety, and, it's just been a very prominent topic in my life. But then I think about kids and low self-esteem, and, I care. And I just felt just very passionate about going, that's it. This message needs to get out there. But most importantly, kids are, they're sponges for information. They can learn new languages. They can learn all of these beautiful things and very quickly and with a lot less resistance than adults. So I honestly felt like I'd be a fool not to. And it just really drove me. So that's what inspired me, that it's important. And we all deserve to know how we function at a mental level.
That's beautiful, because really, when you just said that that kids have less resistance than adults, oh my gosh, that is so true. They have all the, whenever it is that we get into this path of the Course, whatever spiritual path it may be, that maybe it's a non-dual path, we've got a lot of unlearning to do by the time we find it. And why aren't we teaching these principles to children? And this is where your book and these other books come in. So awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome. Hi, Maya. Welcome. So how about we dive in? Where would you like to start?
Okay. Well, first, you made a suggestion that we release this conversation and this session to the Holy Spirit. So I'd like to begin there because, when we connect like this, it's always important to put the Holy Spirit in charge so everyone's questions are answered, the right information comes up, and we're all left with clarity. So just putting our hands on our heart or whatever's comfortable for you. And I say every day that every part of my mind, every cell of my body, and every beat of this heart, I give to the love of God. And so then we continue with the truly helpful affirmation in the Course. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing that He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. And we begin.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So you just sit back and relax, and all the pressure's off. Yeah. So first,
let's go for it. Let's dive in.
Yeah, totally. Let's dive in. There's a lot of information, and please, if you have any questions or anywhere that I can elaborate, please type it in the chat, and Corinne will help me with that. And like I said, the intention is clarity. So, so A Course in Miracles is self-described as a course in mind training. So I'm just going to be looking over at my notes. So if you see my eyes shifting, that's what's going on. So its focus is about our mental level. And so behind all of the Christian terminology, where I know some of our egos can flare up about all of that, behind all of it is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's how we function at a mental level. So Jesus in the Course, he says in the preface, the world we see merely reflects our own internal frame of reference, the dominant ideas, wishes, and emotions in our minds. Projection makes perception. We look inside first, decide the kind of world we want to see, and then project the world outside, making the truth as we see it. We make it true by our interpretations of what it is we are seeing. So what Jesus is talking about there is our perceptions. And so it is so important for us to recognize that, yes, we are sitting in this room, right? So we have chairs, we have windows, we have objects, but it is how we interpret the things in the room that creates the meaning for us. And that's how we experience the world, is through our filter, through our perception. And so, of course, the Course in Miracles is very, strong in sharing, whose perception are you seeing with? Are you seeing it with the ego's perception, or are you seeing with the Holy Spirit's perception? And you will know by how you feel. And so it was just with this that I really wanted to write my mind book, because we all deserve to know that we can have a healthier perception, that that's a choice. And it really does begin at the mental level. So again, children are just in such an opportune space because they're so young. And, no matter what age we are, even if we're 80, the mind is malleable. There's opportunity everywhere to see things right. So, just recognizing that we're always working with our minds, and that this world and this physical body, the things we do, the actions we do, the words we say, those are the effects. So I think it's really, really important that we put the focus back on the mind, just as Jesus is doing in the Course.
And what are we doing all the time but getting caught up in the effects and problem solving effects and not turning to where the source of the problem is coming from, which is, turning back within into
Yeah. And, anyone who's familiar with Gary Renard's work in The Disappearance of the Universe, his guides, Arton and Persis, say, well, the ego loves to distract you, and it loves to distract you with problems. Right? So there's always something that needs to be solved. There's always something going on. And all of these are just ego distractions. If I keep you looking over here, you're not going to look in here. And the ego doesn't want us to look in here, because in here is the love of God. Mm-hmm. And that's very threatening, Mm-hmm. So us looking within is very threatening to the ego. And we all know what it's like when our ego really pipes up, or we get that resistance, right? When we're reading a book and we start to fall asleep, or when we meditate, or am I meditating correctly? Like, do I need a fresh cup of tea? Like, what's going on? It's always these distractions to keep us from looking within.
It's so true. It's so true. I'll just mention, we have some, I'm laughing at the chat. John, 80 is the new 40. I totally agree.
So true. So true. I'm 35 and I'm like, I'm going to be 40 in 5 years. I feel like I'm like 17. Like, you're only as young as you feel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So just maintaining that, what Jesus was saying in the preface, just that it's all about perceptions. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think we really need to put the focus on, is how we're functioning at a mental level, because that's our perception. So like I said, with kids, there's such an opportunity to empower them. By teaching them how their minds function, they are acknowledging their true power, right? So again, as I said, the ego loves to distract us with problems. So whether it's a fight on the playground, I'm not doing well enough in this grade, mom and dad had a fight this morning, there's so much going on. And not only that, they are exposed to so much. They're not necessarily these independent entities, right? They're relying so much upon their teachers and their friends, and they're exposed to a lot, and they're learning so much. They have classes and school, and then they have their extracurricular activities, and then they have to form these new relationships. And, how does this relationship work? What's okay and what's not okay? And I really feel for children, because they're constantly corrected, or punished, but whatever it might be. I think some of them can just get a bit paranoid. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Because adults, are always kind of keeping them in check. And I think that can really affect their sense of freedom. So with all of the stuff that they're bombarded with by the ego, I wanted to, of course, just ensure that, you're going to do so much better when you understand that you have a choice. You have a choice in how you feel, you have a choice in how you function, and you have a choice in what you believe in.
So. Beautiful.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Totally.
So that really clearly establishes the foundation of why it is that you wrote this book and the benefit that it has.
Yeah.
So do you want to start diving into the laws of mind, or where do you want to take this?
Yeah. Well, first, I just wanted to just share the great ego paradox, and then I was just going to jump into the laws of the mind for sure.
Go for it.
So the ego sounds good. So the ego paradox that's presented in A Course in Miracles is that the ego tells us that we're victims. It demeans our power, and it tells us that we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable to the world. There are surprises popping up. You never know if something's going to happen. So we're just left terrified. But the paradox is the ego tells us that we're nothing, that we're guilty, and that we have no power. We are vulnerable to the effects of this world. And yet the ego uses our mental power, our profound mental power, to keep itself alive. So that's the paradox. And I think if we just shift, right, just that perception of going, you're trying to use me against me, when I can actually just disidentify from the ego gently and start to use my mental power. And, you know, it is, if we look at society today, people are very much like, I don't believe that the mind can do that. Like, I don't believe I have any power. I have no power here, right? And it's so wrong, and it's just quite frankly not true. So it's a huge disservice, you know, for us to believe in that. We're really limiting ourselves there.
I really love just how you phrase that with the power of our minds, because I've always thought of it as, you know, we've used the power of our minds to make ourselves, we've used the power of God, which is what, you know, our minds are made from. We've used that power to make ourselves utterly forget that that's what we are. So yeah, I love how you said that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we want to be aware of that and just recognize that inherently we're love, we're perfect love, and that we're going to go through those ego upsets, and that's okay. We're going to get tempted by the ego, and that's okay, but we can shift it back and recognize our true power. So going into the laws of the mind in my baby, I did want to read the dedication, because the dedication, thank you, the dedication was really important to me. I don't have children personally, but I feel such a profound affection for them, as I do for everyone. I think a mind is a mind. It's no matter what age, obviously color, gender, belief system, whatever it might be, a mind is a mind. And so we just need to take care of ourselves and be gentle with each other. So from the dedication, this book is dedicated to all the children in the world, from every corner, every race, and every faith, or from no faith. This is for you. You are all equal. May you learn and understand how your minds work so you can achieve all your goals, happily learn from the lessons presented to you, and enjoy your life. May you also know how welcome you are in this world. Remember this always. You are wholly loving and wholly lovable.
I want to cry. That was so beautiful.
I know. Thank you. Yeah. And it's true. You know, we're in it together. So let's learn together and love each other. So law number 1 is cause and effect. So A Course in Miracles. So just briefly, before we get into the laws of the mind, I took these laws from the Course. As you read through the text of the Course, Jesus will say, this is a fundamental law of the mind. This is a law of the mind. This is the law of this. And so I actually really loved that. So I took the concordance and I looked up laws and I got them all sequenced. There are actually 15 laws, but for the kids I presented 13 because a couple of them kind of delve into each other and kind of feed off each other. And then one of the laws is fidelity to premises. So I don't know how you explain that to a kid. So there are 13, but I do cover everything. Exactly.
It's a very course way of saying things. So.
Totally, right? Yeah. Stop, think. Yeah. So Jesus says in the Course that the most fundamental law of the mind is cause and effect. So our minds are the cause. And then, as I was saying before, the earth, the world, even the universe, everything is an effect of our minds. And so, you know, presenting this to children would be such a huge concept. So how I did it in my book was just going, you know, after you have that thought, well, that effect is like maybe the butterflies in your tummy or how you feel after. So just helping them to connect between, you know, that their emotions came from their thoughts and just helping them to realize, oh, I did that. You know, so just kind of acknowledging that power that they have. So that is the first law. And, you know, the mind has 3 different levels that I just wanted to touch upon. So Jesus says in the Course that the conscious mind is correctly identified as the level of the domain of the ego. So I think we all know, like, especially if you've had anxiety, you wake up and boom, you have all of those anxious thoughts, you have those fear thoughts, and that's because your ego is awake. So we experience that, and, you know, so it's a conscious experience where we are working with the ego, and that's where we need to empower ourselves and be really vigilant for, you know, how we react to the ego, what we're choosing to believe in, all of that stuff. So that's the conscious mind. And then we go into the subconscious mind, which is our dreams, our inspiration, things like that. And then the unconscious mind, the level deeper, is where A Course in Miracles says, that we are connected, that we are truly experienced as one. And so in the level of the unconscious mind, there is no distinction between you and I. In the conscious mind, we appear as separate. But the unconscious mind actually recognizes that there's only one of us. So what I say to you, I'm saying to myself, and vice versa. So that's cause. Conscious, subconscious, unconscious. That's what we're working with.
Awesome.
And then law number 2, it's good stuff. So law number 2 is your thoughts can be either fearful or loving. Okay, so they can't be both. So especially those who, have mental ailments like low self-esteem or depression, anxiety, and, we all experience these to some degree. We're all going through it. No one of us is different. It's just, it appears a little different that we're going through it to different degrees. But when we're having an anxious thought or a fear thought, we can just as quickly turn the next thought to love. Right? So we're not stuck in it. It's a very empowering law of the mind. My next thought does not need to be fearful. I can choose love. And, I recognize very clearly that we have to, implement some coping mechanisms. We need to take some deep breaths to calm down. We need to do all of that. But it is important to know that we are not stuck in that fearful thinking, that, that is a law of the mind. My thought is either thinking underneath one of the umbrellas, the umbrella of love or the umbrella of fear. So those are the 2 thought systems as work.
That's awesome. And that's really helpful. And I have one question and then one comment. My question is,
sure,
as an adult practicing the Course, rather than me, Corinne, choosing the loving thought, I'm turning to the Holy Spirit and asking for that loving thought instead. Yeah. And I'm wondering, do you go there in the book, or do you just keep this more about that choice between choosing, love or fear?
I keep it about the choice, just because I created this book mainly for a secular audience, just because I wanted to help as many people as I could. So just laying it out with the foundations, and then, as A Course in Miracles says, it's a universal curriculum. So we're all functioning with this, but, it is, ACIM parents are absolutely going to love it, and ACIM parents can elaborate upon it, and that's their comfort level. That's their right. And, they know their children and what they would like to present. So definitely you can elaborate upon these laws. An ACIM parent knows what to do, and definitely the Holy Spirit will guide them as to how much further they can take it.
I love that. Yeah. I think that was really, really wise to keep it open to anybody. And I do say a quick funny story. I'm loving John's comments in the chat. Yeah. He wrote, many are aware that Ken Wapnick often said that ACIM is not for kids. Having spent many weeks with him, when I sent my parable manuscript, so the Parable of the Stars book that we're giving away, when I sent my parable manuscript to him asking his thoughts on offering it for children, he wrote back, don't pay any attention to that Wapnick guy, which I think is so funny.
My God.
And then John went on to say, then he explained that the content which Fiona and my message conveys is perfect for children. No level confusion in the material. Love that. Love that, John. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. That's beautiful. And I'm just so appreciative of that. Thank you. So law number 3 is your mind can only think one thought at a time. So, I know children are very prone to erasing mind. I mean, Lord knows us adults are too, but, we know that we can take some deep breaths and, go do some yoga, meditate. We know that we can implement those coping mechanisms to help our minds calm down. But, with this law, I can only think one thought at a time. Well, then I can choose what type of thought that's going to be. So in the book, I do present it, and I take a little bit from one of the lessons, where Jesus invites us to observe our thoughts as a parade going down the street. So I touch on that in there. And so, kids, do you sometimes feel like there's a parade of thoughts marching through your head?
Or
and
adults.
Just recognizing, hey, or adults, exactly. a few adults buy my book. They're just like, forget the kids. I need this. But it's going to resonate with all of us because we all have a mind and we're all going through it. So, yeah. So just letting children know that they can slow down that thinking process. Like, hang on, you can only think one thought at a time. How about we slow down a little bit and take it down a notch? It might help them to focus a little bit more in school or when they go to sleep. Oh, okay, I'm just going to kind of relax my mind, think one slow, relaxed thought at a time. So that's how I present it to kids, that they can relax that and just choose a little more wisely. Yeah. And then law number 4 is a good one. Your thoughts grow stronger the more you share them. So with anyone who's had anxiety, including yours truly, we love to get that recognition that everything's okay. So when you have that fear-based thought, you go and you search for that, am I okay? Am I okay? Like, and I'm going to talk to you about it, and I'm going to talk to you about it. Is your answer good enough? No, your answer wasn't good enough. I'm going to go ask someone else. And so it's kind of this, reinforcement that we're doing, but it's a negative reinforcement. We're looking for people to help us, but we're kind of looking in the wrong place. And so when children are afraid and they tell all of their friends about it and their parents and so much, they're just reinforcing that thought system in their mind. And then consequently, they're going to get the neurology in their brain, right? So I call it the deep canyons of fear. And so it's hard to climb out of those. And so this is one law that I felt very passionate about teaching children, like, watch what you're talking about when it comes to anxiety. So in the book, I encourage them to find one person that they trust, and you go and you talk to them, and just inviting that person to not necessarily acknowledge the fear, but just going, yeah, that's anxiety, and just helping them through it, as opposed to sharing the story too many times, because, used negatively, that law, so many things, low self-esteem, like, I'm not good enough, I suck at that, like, whatever it might be, it can really, really get in there, and the ego really uses that law against us. So
that's
but
powerful.
If we shift it, because it is powerful. And, if we shift it and use that law correctly, just sharing a positive thought, well, then that's good too, right? Like, you can do that. Like, I'm really great at this, or I want to do better, or this is my goal. So we're just watching what we're reinforcing, because thoughts do grow stronger the more you share them. That's how they function.
And I love that you have this as number 4, because you can sort of go back to number 2, that if thoughts can be fearful or loving, and your thoughts grow stronger the more you share them, the more you share fear, the more it grows, or the more you choose to share love, the more that grows too. So that's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And looking at cause and effect, well, then my effect is going to reflect that thought that I'm holding, right? So that thought system that I'm investing in. Yeah, so thoughts grow stronger the more we share them. And, just one thing I wanted to share about, because I know anxiety with children is quite a large thing. And, I do book signings, and I get a lot of parents come up to me and be like, I'll use one child as an example. She was afraid a python was going to come through her register in the bathroom, and while she was showering, and was going to kill her. And, it's not logical. Obviously, we live in Calgary. There's not really, we don't get that size of snakes, there's nothing like that. But it got to the point that, the mom was nodding her head and going, yeah, it's true. And, we used to stay in the bathroom with her while she showered. And then now we've actually just put her clothes on top of the register to prevent the python from coming up, so she could at least just shower. And I know her mom's intentions were super loving, and and I totally respect that. But it does require that level of bravery and hand-holding of going, the more we reinforce this, and sometimes our reinforcements are our defenses. I'm defending myself against this fear thought. You've just made the fear stronger. Right? So you're just sharing it in a different manner. You are defending it. So just that way of putting the clothes on top of the register was another defense system that helped to solidify the fear in her mind.
Is the register
so we're working with anxiety?
Is the register?
Oh, sorry. The register is like the heat register.
the heat register. You live in Canada, I live in the States, and we're calling something in the shower two different things. So
it's in the bathrooms. It's just in the bathroom floor where the air circulates.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Little detail.
Sorry, guys. Totally Canadian over here. Yeah.
Too funny.
But yeah, so, but there was, but yeah, there was that defense going on, and defenses are, they grow stronger the more you defend yourself against them. It's just you're reinforcing that thought system of fear. So, when dealing with a child with anxiety, it's a little more of that hand holding. Can we implement some coping mechanisms, maybe some deep breathing, watching something funny, whatever you have to do to help them through the fear thought instead of analyzing the fear thought. And defending yourself is a form of analyzing. So I wanted to share that.
I think of the first lesson. If I defend myself, I am attacked. And it's just another form of our attack thoughts, coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So just being vigilant for that. Yeah. And then law number 5 is all minds are connected. So I do present it to the kids in my mind book that, you hear these waves of music from your radio, or if you sit in front of a campfire, you have these waves of heat, and that thoughts are the same. You don't see them, but they're there. Right. So, I explained to them, you might experience this when you and a friend might say the same thing at the same time. That's an example of our minds being connected. So I keep it a real gentle level, but from an A Course in Miracles level, as I was explaining earlier, at the level of the unconscious mind, how I think about you and thinking about myself, like the unconscious mind cannot decipher. We are all so closely connected, and we're just reinforcing those thought systems. So that's law number 5.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then law number 6, it's so funny. The kids love this one. Like, their eyes get as big as saucers when they hear it. I get parents come up to me and go, law number 6, my kid loved this one. And I think it has to do maybe just like with all their friends at school, but it is what you think about others is what you actually think about yourself. So obviously they're recognizing, oh no. Yeah. Yeah. And of course it's just, an elaboration of law number 5, that all minds are connected. But yeah, just helping them to watch their judgments, right? That if they call someone a name, they are doing that to themselves. And, for us, A Course in Miracles students, we really need to recognize that a quick quip about someone, or being comfortable that someone's on the TV, whether an actor or whatever it might be, and you're making fun of them, you're doing that to yourself. They may appear to be thousands of miles away or totally disconnected from you, but they're not. As we judge others, we're judging ourselves. And our unconscious mind is so incredibly sensitive. It's so sensitive that it is picking up on everything. And then, as Persa says in Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, I believe it was that one, she said that it's a message coming from you, about you to you, in some kind of, she kind of explains it like that. But that's just exactly what we're doing to ourselves when we judge others. Like, it's a big deal. Yeah.
It is
so
a
just
big
teaching
deal.
kids to be cognizant of that.
Yeah. And I really love that you included this one, because if you think about this, teaching a child what you think about others is what you think about yourself. I can just see all the eye openings that you described with parents and with kids, because I think about how mean children can be, and how when I was in school getting picked on, or, it can be so painful and such a difficult time where it makes you think, gosh, I'd never want to relive, that phase of life again. And if everybody were taught this, even just this one, what you think about others is what you think about yourself, that really opens a door for tremendous healing.
Yeah, it really does. And compassion. So, yeah. So law number 7 is your thoughts turn into your beliefs. So Jesus explains in the Course that we have thoughts, and then, we're reinforcing them, where they're growing stronger the more we share them, and they will eventually become our belief system. And then they're reinforced even more that they actually become our perception. And so that's the law of perception, which I left out of the children's book, but will be in my adult book. But it is, our beliefs will become our perceptions if we're not careful. So of course, if we're thinking negative things about yourself, like, again, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, then you're just really strengthening that for yourself. And then you can imagine how you're going to be as an adult. What if you wanted to start your own business? What if you wanted to be really great in a relationship, and just feeling like you're not worthy enough for any of that, because when you were younger, you decided to reinforce this thought system and you weren't aware of it. Mm-hmm. So just becoming aware that they're feeding those beliefs, and they will become their perceptions. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Thoughts turn into your beliefs.
Yeah. 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 And then as a coping mechanism, in that particular law, I share that you can do the switch. So, instead of saying I can't do it, just stop. And then why don't you just try telling yourself I can do it? Like, just give it a shot, just gently. Why don't you just try and switch your thinking a little bit and just give it a go? You never know. So I call it the switch.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just a couple of comments to share real quick. I love what some folks are writing. Eric, I often hoped that the schoolyard bullies of my childhood understood that law. That way they would understand what they were really doing to themselves. It's so true. I mean, it's with kids, it's with adults. This is a big law. John wrote, way cool, Fiona. Beyond the golden rules, don't message. That is actually doing it to oneself. Yeah. So everybody's loving this.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And it is that golden rule, right? As I, treat you, I treat myself, treating your neighbor, equally, all of that. It's just the same beautiful golden rule, and it's used correctly. It's amazing, right? So for us Course in Miracles students, it is written that Jesus actually expedited his path to enlightenment by seeing others as God, as one with God, and just acknowledging who they really are. And that is so powerful. And, because as we see others, we're going to start to experience ourselves, right? So how incredible is that? So there is personally what I like to do as an adult. So if I'm waiting at a gate at an airport, or even when you're on the airplane and everyone else is trickling onto the plane, or if you're on a bus or a train or whatever it is, anywhere where I'm waiting in a line, I practice the I love you exercise. And, this just came to me about a decade ago, when I used to take the bus in and out of downtown Calgary. And I just started to look at everyone in the eyes, not in a weird way, not creepy girl way, but, I would just say, I love you. Yeah. So I would just say in my mind, I love you, and I love you. And it actually really helps to shift your mood. And it helps to bring back that reality that we are all connected, and a different experience of love. Yeah, so that was just one exercise I like to share with my adult students.
That's awesome. I love that. And I'll just add to that too really quick, because that brings up a personal example. And to get really coursey with bringing back, the non-secular or the Christian terminology with Holy Spirit, I had the experience one time of going on a long walk and saying, I bless you to every person I passed. And I was doing it from Corinne. And so I was exhausted by the end of the walk. Yeah. Whereas inviting, the Holy Spirit to extend those loving wishes through me, that sort of happened spontaneously at a later date. Yeah. And I felt just like a burst of love for people as I walked past them. And by the end of that walk, I was energized. So because it wasn't coming from me. So that's just another little nuance there that we can, as if you're an ACIM parent, to keep in mind.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, just incredible. And like Jesus says in the Course that no gift of love is ever wasted. If the person's not ready for it, it's held for them. So just when you said that you felt that burst of love, we're never wasted in thinking loving thoughts, about others. They are held, and man, those floodgates open sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
I love that. And I'm just looking at the chat again. Lisa wrote something important. Even as adults, there seems to be pressure to join into office gossip and demean others. It's the schoolyard all over again. It's so true. It is. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
We all need this.
Yeah.
This is not just a children's book.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, absolutely. And, it is amazing, right? Those adults, and they don't know what they're doing to their own self-esteem, right? So it's all the same thing. It's just the same cycle repeating and strengthening. Yeah. So law number 8 is your actions come from how you think. So I'm just introducing children to, if you're angry or upset and you choose to act from that place of being upset, then you may end up doing something hurtful, or that you might, not feel. I don't use the word regret because I thought that was a bit strong, but, you might just end up doing something hurtful. But that when you come from a loving place, you're going to be more patient and kind, and, it's going to be loving for everyone, right? So even in the Course, it's mentioned so frequently, help me, Holy Spirit, with doing this with equal love for everyone involved. So just introducing kids to, your actions coming from a loving place are going to be loving for everyone involved. That's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so just kind of introducing them to, it's okay to have a fear thought, right? As Jesus says in the Course, it's okay to have a negative thought. You just don't need to hold on to the negative thought. So it's okay, but we don't need to act from that. So, as adults, how many fear thoughts do we have? But we have that reasoning, well in place of, I'm just not going to yell that out, or whatever it might be. There's a bit more of a filter there. So yeah, just introducing that to kids, that it's okay. Yeah. Usually. Yeah. Hopefully. And law number 9 is, yeah, exactly. Law number 9 is really simple, but it is very powerful. And so it is, you have by giving. And of course, we all recognize this from the Course, right? Jesus says that you have by giving. So, he does invite us to, if we want forgiveness, offer it to someone else. Whatever we want, try offering it to someone else. And then you're going to get it. If you want more hugs, then be more huggy. If you want more smiles, then smile more often. If you want to laugh more, then start to invite that in, give it. And that's how you have it. And, isn't that law of attraction in a nutshell, right? That, if I want it, then I have to start giving it out there. And it's that simple.
I love it.
Yeah. And then yeah, it's really beautiful. And then law number 10, it's a powerful one. You have free will. So the law of free will. So in the book, I introduce kids that they can choose what types of thoughts that they want to believe in. They can choose the types of thoughts that they want to share with others, and that they are always making that decision of how they'd like to continue thinking. So, which path would you like to go down? Is it the angry path? Is it the sad path? Or is it the peaceful path and the loving path? So just really introducing them to them how powerful they really are just by their choices. And that is the law of free will. For ACIM parents, choosing the Holy Spirit, that's the law of free will, right? He can't help unless I invite him in. Right? So there's our law of free will in action as ACIM students. Like, I choose the Holy Spirit's perception. Yeah. And then I continue on in the book. So just inviting for children, if they're faced with some sort of conflict, that they can walk away peacefully, or they can reply meanly, or, they can say nothing at all. But just inviting them with, look, you have all these choices you can make, but you can walk away in peace. You don't have to stay in the conflict. You don't have to believe in the conflict. It is your free will. And then that, most importantly, no one can make you feel anything. No one can make you feel anything. We choose how we want to feel. And that tends to be a sticky one when we're adults. Like, you did this to me, you made me feel this way. And it really, especially in close relationships, can become quite prominent. And so I think if kids learn that early, you have that power. You have that power to not invest.
Awesome. I love it. This is so good. I am so enjoying. I am just sort of in amazement that we were able to just break all these down so simply for children. Yeah. So I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah. I tried. It's okay. So law number 11, and this is also a very powerful one, is that everyone is equal. So, I share in the book that, of course, no matter what color of skin you have, or no matter what your hobby is, or the kind of music that you like, we are all equal. And so just wanted to say this quickly before I forget, but as ACIM students, miracles come from equality, right? So it's in the 50 principles of miracles that when we are seeing as equals, that's where miracles occur. So this is just kind of setting the foundation for miracle mindedness, that we are all equal. And so in the book, I continue on by saying, because, I know children are faced with, mean kids. And so how can I be equal? I would never push another kid. I would never do what that kid is doing, right? But I do introduce them to the fact that, we have learned through reading this book that hurt people are afraid. And so they may be doing things that you wouldn't be doing, but they are just experiencing some fear thoughts. And so, but inside, did you try ever just seeing them, as the love which you both are? So just acknowledging the truth. And so, just offering them a smile, treating them equally as you would everyone else. That's seeing them as equal. Because, people are going to go through stuff.
All the wonderful books. Was it your dad who did the illustrations in your book?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
okay,
my dad. Yeah.
I love that. Look at how cute.
Yeah. Our little family project. We'd stay up late and watch Despicable Me and for inspiration. And just giggle and be silly. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive back into where we left off, which I think I had jumped over to reading one of the comments, and our audio was getting a little crisscrossed. So I think we were on law number 11 with everyone is equal, and it's possible that you may have wrapped that up. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of clarify, so again, when we're working with someone who is mean, so just introducing that to kids, how can I be equal with someone who's behaving meanly? Like I would never do that. And so I remind children that, remember, when someone's behaving that way, they're just needing love. They're coming from fear, but to treat them equally. So try smiling at them if you're comfortable. And, if they're not comfortable, they don't need to do anything at all, but they don't need to judge them. So just treating everyone equally is another way about recognizing this law that we're all equal.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm also aware of the time, Fiona. We're approaching the top of the hour. So how about we have 4 laws left?
No, 2 more. Just 2 more.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So law number 12, you will see what you choose to think about. So when in the book I presented to a child, there's the little guy. And so I presented as, he wanted to go for a bike ride with his friends, and it's raining. And so, but you have that power. And when you open up to seeing things differently and choosing, what you want to think about, that you get to see possibility. And so instead of going for a bike ride with his friends, he gets to have a sleepover with his buddy, and they go to the swim park, and guess what? The next day the sun's shining, so you still get your bike ride with your buddies. And so just kind of introducing to kids of, you can either stare out the window and be upset and stay upset, or you can start to take some control and just look for some possibilities of better things you can do.
Beautiful.
Simple. Yeah, totally.
Love it.
Yeah. And then the final law, the favorite, forgiveness is the only thing that heals your mind. So, and in the book, I present it as like a medicine you take when your throat is sore. Forgiveness is what helps your mind. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah. And it's because forgiveness sets your mind free from negativity and fear.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is a favorite.
Yeah. It is a favorite. Yeah. And, if kids just learn how to forgive again early, then, how much pain is saved, from their future. Because as we all know, as ACM students, everything is for forgiveness. So if you start implementing it, and I understand that the true forgiveness process would have to be introduced by the parents when they're comfortable, and maybe when the kids are a little older. I don't know. That depends on the parent. But just introducing the concept that, hey, this is a thing I can do. And it helps. It helps me to not feel afraid or vulnerable and whatever it might be, and not such a victim of what other people are doing.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. This is so helpful. So that's awesome. And there's also a parent's guide in the back of the book. Am I correct?
Yes, there is. And so I am an Erickson certified professional life coach. And with that training was communication. I love communication. I mean, through communication, we're showing each other how we feel about each other, how we treat others. And I think it's something that we could all stand to do a little more responsibly. And so I do share in there the importance of communication, how you're communicating with your child, and just 5 steps of how you can communicate with your child lovingly, in a more relaxed fashion. And also I do bring up that not to punish your child. And, I take from the course that it's better to educate them. So instead of the slap on the wrist and the punishment, which can be very alienating for a child, is helping them to understand, look, like that wasn't, something that you might want to do again. Look how you feel. Just starting to create that awareness. And Eckhart Tolle teaches that as well, right? Just helping kids to recognize that ego voice, and that when they invest in it, again, just recognizing that feeling of maybe that doesn't feel too good. So just helping them to become aware, just gently aware. Yeah.
That's awesome. This is so amazing. I'm just so grateful and so blessed that you've taken the time.
Thank you.
Anybody, if you have questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We just have a few minutes left. My mind book. I'm just so grateful that you've been here with us, Fiona. This has been so, I love how you just dived right into the content of your book too, and didn't hold anything back, just to really share this with us. It's really, really special and amazing. So are there any, before I announce the winners of the book giveaway, are there any things that come to mind for you that you just want to share? And can you also tell people, I mentioned your website at the beginning. Could you just also remind us where we can find you online?
Yeah, so it's www.healthyhappykidsinitiative.ca, and that's more of the secular audience, and it is more children-oriented. But my adult site is www.fionamaria.ca, and I have lots of information about the course. My blogs are always course-related, and, I do teach classes in person and via Skype. So it's always an option. If you're interested in some ACI-themed classes, I am absolutely here.
Awesome. John was asking when your adult version of the book comes out.
Yes, I am hoping for fall. That is a fingers crossed situation, but yeah, I am hoping for fall. So just completing it, and then with editing. And so I am self-published, so I will be able to get it out sooner, so that's good. And so I have the help of Patrick Miller from Fearless Books and his assisted publishing program. So he's going to hold my hand and help me out.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
That's perfect. And before I announce the winners, if anybody does choose to pick up the book on Amazon, please, I just launched a podcast, and I'm just learning the value of getting reviews. So if you do purchase this book, please leave Fiona a review on Amazon, because it really helps to boost your search ranking. It's like a search engine like anything else. So when you get reviews, your book is much more likely to show up in search results if you have some reviews there. So please, that would be wonderful. And where are your books for sale? Is it Amazon that we can get this?
Yeah, Amazon. You can also purchase it through my Healthy Happy Kids Initiative site, which is more direct. And then also Chapters in Indigo, which is the Canadian version of Barnes & Noble, and then also barnesandnoble.com. So those several options of where you can purchase it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yay!
Yeah. Yay.
Fiona, thank you. So now the moment that we've been waiting for, and we have and then a little, I have something else to just share. So our grand prize, which is your book, my mind book, Parable of the Stars, and Through Faith and Grace. This is the Adventures of the Course Kids from Barbara Franco Adams. This first prize altogether goes to Kim, who I don't have a last name. I will email everybody. So if there's multiple Kims listening, Kim lives either in Florida or New York. I looked up the IP address and one site said Florida, the other site said New York. So Kim, I will email you. You won the grand prize. The second prize is Parable of the Stars, the book and the CD. And this goes to Susan in Canada, Susan Towell, which is really, really awesome. So Susan, you won the second place prize. And the third place is the audio CD of Parable of the Stars, which goes to Megan in Florida. So I will email everybody that they won. They have 48 hours to claim the prizes. Otherwise, I'll pick new winners. And John is, I'm totally telling everybody about the Portuguese version of your book. I guess he was in Rio with Gary Renard and John Mundy doing music. They wanted John's book translated, so they translated it into Portuguese. John didn't actually mean to give me the Portuguese version. I just happened to notice it. So if anybody watching this speaks Portuguese, first come, first serve, email me at info@FromAnxietyToLove.com and I will send this to you. That's that. And then just another quick shout out. The next book giveaway I'm going to do, there won't be a webinar. This is just going to be, you enter for a chance to win. I was actually connected with this author through Fiona. It's 2 mindfulness books for children. Am I holding this? No, I'm holding this upside down. Mindful ABCs and Mindful 1, 2, 3. They're absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful books. You can see, of course, it's kind of hard to see. It's all the letters. This is by Tamara Hackett. Is that how you say her name, Fiona?
Tamara Hackett.
Tamara. They're gorgeous. So this is coming next. Yeah. Not giving these away tonight, but very soon. So if you're interested.
And they're beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And you can see Tamara's work on the Healthy Happy Kids Initiative site as well. She's my colleague and my dear friend, and her work is just incredible. So awesome. And we have one more question before we go. Do you have an audiobook coming out, Fiona? Yes, I do. I have the audio version of my mind book coming out in the near future. So just working with Audible, and there's just quickly a lovely gentleman, Jose Neto, here in Calgary. He's a bit of a celebrity because he's a Brazilian student, and a few years ago he was actually accidentally shot in the head downtown during a gang fight. He was just walking by with his girlfriend, and he lost his sight. And Jose has totally forgiven the whole event. He now does Reiki and massage, and he's just pure love. And so his forgiveness example is just incredible. And also, of course, his hearing is now amplified, and he has a recording studio. And so Jose helped me record my mind book, and I'm really grateful for that opportunity because his story is all forgiveness, all love, just an incredible person. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Fiona, thank you a million times for taking part in this, and for everybody, for the authors who participated in this giveaway, for everybody who entered, everyone who's watching. And I'm just so grateful for all the light that you have brought and are bringing and will bring continually into the world. So thank you.
Thank you, love. Thank you for everything, and thank you. Love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.